All right. Well, welcome in. Thanks to you, those of you joining us live today for our Zorakle Mastery session with founder and chief scientist Rebecca Monet. Today, we're going to be looking at a couple of Zorakle profiles that came in from a husband and wife team that Ruby, who's on the call with us, is actually working with. So we'll get some really good insight into these candidates and see if we're pretty spot on, no pun intended, with the options we come up with and how we decipher these profiles. So if you have questions, if you're with us live, this is very open communication style. So just feel free to unmute yourself, ask any questions as we move along. Feel free to contribute, ideas. This is very open discussion. So thanks so much for joining us. And Rebecca, I will go ahead and hand things over to you.
Okay. So, Ruby, thank you for sending over not just the spot on profiles, but the CQs. Um, what was really fascinating to me as I was looking at Emily and Sean is how much the CQ echoed in the spot on profile. Literally, the things they were saying overlapped almost consistently. I looked at the spot on profiles first, and then I thought, I really haven't seen a finished CQ. So, and I'm like, this is amazing how they really do complement each other. So, since these are your clients, um, do you want me to bring up the CQs first, or do you want to just tell us a little bit about this couple before we jump into the spot on profiles?
Well, I'll share with you what I do know about them. Emily happens to be a personal friend, which is great. We were colleagues in our previous careers, and I just met her husband Sean on our intro call last week. So they're in Connecticut. They are kind of the type of couple that's the reason why I pursued this to begin with, which is helping people at this stage of their lives, really take the reins of their careers. Sean's in that position where, he's had a couple of different types of careers. He's actually had a startup business himself and it really struggled with it. And Emily's been in corporate sales, essentially her entire career. Both of them have their careers in kind of steeped in healthcare. And so senior care really spoke to both of them for that reason. And Sean works for the state of Connecticut, and he helps shape, he provides the analysis that helps shape a lot of the programs for early childhood health care, and for the unserved and underserved parts of their communities. Emily works in locum staffing, so she places physicians with hospitals and any type of healthcare arena, you name it. So you've got these people that have built careers, respectively in healthcare, healthcare adjacent. They have that passion, and they have both saved up enough money to really say, okay, I think it's time for us to do something for ourselves. And especially with Sean, he's going to be leading this effort, just so you're aware, Rebecca, because his contract with the state is ending in the summer,
Oh,
and
wow.
they could extend him, they might not. That's kind of the risk you take when you're a consultant. So that's really what spearheaded them wanting to do this. And so when they saw that I was, this is my new career, they were pumped because they know that I'll be able to guide them through this process. And I was so impressed to see how fast they got their Zoracles back, how
Yeah.
fast they got their CQs back. Like, that was refreshing. I didn't have to pepper them. So that enthusiasm's there too, to really take this leap. So I hope that gives you some good context.
Yeah, that's super helpful. Um, so they really are complementary to one another, and both of them are very purpose driven. They're really looking to make a difference. And Emily did say initially she's only going to be contributing in terms
Mhm.
of time about 25%. So it definitely is going to be on Sean, at least in the startup phases until they get this business up and running.
Mhm.
So for those of you that haven't seen the CQ, I'm going to bring it up to show you really quick. Um, how the two really do go together. And this was definitely a BAI effort, and we were able to make it happen. So the confidential questionnaire, this is Sean that we're looking at, answers a lot of the questions you're already asking. And again, I don't know if all of you are using a confidential questionnaire, but it really is laid out in a very beautiful way where you learn about their background, what their drivers are, about their past employments, what they loved, what they hated, about what they were doing, why they're attracted to a business right now. For Sean, you can see he wants control of his own destiny, right? Waiting for a government contract is not always a fun thing to be waiting for, especially when there's so many changes right now. Um, they tell us what kind of businesses they've already looked at, and of course, what initially appealed to them. And then they rate the categories of the business. So Ruby's already kind of told us this. We can see here that Sean is interested in consulting, management training, maybe even coaching, but for sure on a scale of 10, medical and healthcare, anything to do with that. And then senior care services, which he rated a 10 and a 10. What I thought was fascinating, which goes along with our spot on profile, is he only chose 3 things. We got 30 options here. He only chose 3, showing us that he's clearly what we call a procedural decision maker. Any procedural decision maker, once it goes over 3, they're lost. They know exactly what they want. He knows exactly what is going to be a good fit for him.
And Rebecca, just to go back to the categories,
Yeah.
so the obviously the senior care and the medical, those tie directly into categories in FranLink in our portfolio. And then I think the consulting, management, training, and coaching tie in nicely to senior care because those are roles of the owner in a senior care business. Like the big responsibility is managing a staff and training a staff and coaching your team and building. That's how senior care franchisees are successful. So this is a really good cross section of
Mhm.
interests that apply to the categories they're interested in too, which I think is important to make note of in cases like this. Like if they scored 0 on that and we're worried about having employees but wanted to be in senior care or medical, then you have a little more of a puzzle to solve in terms of what brands you want to show.
Mhm.
But those responsibilities tie in nicely to senior care brands.
Yeah. Perfect. And keep in mind, as you guys already know, there's a lot of things that'll come under medical and healthcare, a lot of things that will come under senior care, whether it's building ramps or advocating for a senior. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done there. Same way in the consulting, management, and training. But I like how you cross those over because there really is a crossover. In senior care, you're acting as a consultant, you're acting as an advocate, etc. So I just wanted you to see it. If you're not already using it, check it out. It gives us a lot of information in a very beautiful, simple way. But let's now go to Sean's actual assessment result and see what we can see here. So Sean, when we look on this first page, is a societal, and Ruby, I'm guessing you've studied this a little bit, but our societal is about making a difference. It's about contributing. It's about using his experience, his expertise, his education, his wisdom, and then helping others. So he's definitely a societal individual. He also has a work style of a thinker. So he's precise, he's accurate, he's good at orchestrating, he's good at planning. He appreciates the structure of a franchise. He's not a wild, crazy entrepreneurial type. He definitely will do much better as a franchisee. The culture he fits in is what we call a create culture, which is a company that's innovative and creative and ever evolving. And this is going to show up as a possible problem because He also fits best in what we call an empire business or hybrid. Those are usually much larger companies, and the larger the company gets, the less innovation and creativity you're going to find. So it's going to narrow down the options for you, because you're going to see not only is he a create culture, but he's also, let me actually see if I'm remembering correctly here. Yeah, he has a splatter dot or a pain point around innovation. So I'm guessing you and Heath have chatted about that, but he's got a double marker for creativity and innovation. But at the same time, he has a stage of growth that is, hang on, why is this not moving for me? There he goes. Stage 4, which is usually a very large franchise system, or hybrid, which is usually a franchise system that's operating under either an umbrella or on a platform where there are different size franchise companies. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Ruby and Heath. Were you able to address that in the selection of franchises? And did it narrow things down for you a bit?
Yeah, I think with these kind of clashing with one another, I was thinking an established brand. So they've got really, an established blueprint to follow, very successful franchisees that can validate. But one of the senior care brands, maybe that dives into the medical side, because those brands actually let you decide what revenue streams you want to provide and what services you want to provide. So you have a little more of a dynamic senior care company than just non-medical companion care, which is pretty, one-sided. There's not a lot of flexibility there. So it was kind of finding a balance of a brand that's established enough, but still evolving. Like Bright Star, for example, is a flagship brand in senior care. Probably not the most innovative in any way. They're probably pretty rigid in how they let franchisees grow. But then you go to a brand like, I know they talked to Ruby about Amada, and Amada has 100 plus franchisees, but they also continuously
Yes.
let franchisees provide new systems and find out new ways to generate revenue. So that's kind of a good hybrid model, maybe not part of a bigger group, but super established franchise that continues to change and innovate. So that would be a good example. Or like Assisting Hands is a medical senior care model, but it's extremely scalable. And they also get into, they start non-medical and they go all the way to nurse staffing and medical device sales. So that can be extremely
Yeah.
innovative in their nature. And they also have like very good validation, very successful franchisees, but it's a very tight-knit system where the founders really involved in selecting franchisees. You have direct access to the executive leadership team. So it feels a lot smaller than it actually is. And I think that's the kind of culture I was picturing as a good fit for these two. And I saw that too. I think it's in is Erin the woman's name?
Emily,
Emily.
close. Yep.
Emily. I think in her CQ, she said, we've looked into a lot of home service brands. The main reason we didn't go with those is they didn't feel like they had a big enough impact. So I think that passion driven is totally in alignment with their CQs and their Zorakle profiles. But I think the culture of the brand they're with is going to be a lot more important than plugging into a big system. And yeah, they have everything figured out, but I can never get access to the director of franchise development or the CEO. I have to go through all these levels. So I think a brand
Yeah.
that is kind of in that sweet spot, around 100, 150 units established, great systems and vendors and everything, but still tight knit enough to talk to the CEO once a month or something like that is going to be, right in their wheelhouse.
I love it. Ruby, when you were considering concepts, and we'll continue on here, but this is just three markers we're looking at. We got the societal, we got a splatter dot, a pain point, and we got needs to be highly established business, but still have innovation, right? Were there other concepts outside of elder care that you considered and that would line up with that?
Yes, they both scored so strongly with coaching companies.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
knowing Emily, that doesn't surprise me one bit. And seeing Sean's results didn't surprise me one bit either. So tomorrow is my presentation with them, and I plan to not just cover elder care. I'm also
Mhm.
including, just so they understand, like, this is how we interpreted it. I don't want to limit you. I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't make you aware of other opportunities that you are beautifully aligned with. And
Hmm.
I wanted to share with them some of the coaching companies that they really strongly align with. I think Emily's was like almost like 100%. It was 99 across the board with, it
Yeah, I
might have
can
been
see
focal
that
point.
from
It was
her.
wild. Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me knowing her.
And again, there's several concepts in that advising, coaching, edifying, consulting, advocating arena. Everything from taxes to business consulting to personal coach. I mean, there's a bunch of them within that. So I'm really glad you did not eliminate that and that you're including it. So great
Mhm.
job.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any thoughts on that before we continue on with Mr. Sean? Any feedback for Emily? All right. In that case, we're moving on. Moving on. All right. We talked already about that he rather, is societal. Societals, by the way, are also innovative. He's got a splatter dot of innovation. And now we also see that he needs to be in a create environment. So that is literally a triple marker. So
Mhm.
we cannot forget that piece when we're dealing with him. His work style is that of a thinker. So he's analytic. He's capable of looking at complex situation, dissecting them, pulling them apart, looking for the gaps, solving the problem in very creative and unique ways. He has that ability to see the solution and the gaps long before you and I will see those gaps. So anything that he is solving problems and critiquing things, um, or that requires a critical eye of some nature, he's going to be really good at. But we also notice another double marker here in that he needs a stage 4 or stage 5, which are usually more highly developed, more systematic companies, but he also has this thinker work style. So he appreciates things that are systematized and strongly orchestrated, that are somewhat formal and somewhat structured. So it's a double marker that we're seeing. Now, again, keep in mind, creative cultures oftentimes are willy-nilly, especially if they're younger companies. So we're looking for a company that has structure, functionality, it's more formal, more systematized, where he can feel comfortable, but still gives him an ability to solve problems and be a critical thinker and handle each client as if they are in some way unique.
Mhm.
And so he thrives in an environment where he's the hero, right? He fixed the problem, he solved it. So we want him to get that hit that he deserves and may have not gotten in a more governmental way, right? He's not getting that same satisfaction or sense that he's accomplished what he wants to accomplish. So he is wired for a franchise. Let's just put it that way.
And
Make
I
sense?
Yeah, I took
Perfect sense.
that too as anything transactional is not going to be very attractive to him. He's long-term relationship based contracts and solutions and selling. That's why I think senior care and consulting or business coaching franchises are both really good fits because you have the same clients for potentially years, and you're not just, selling a product or doing a one-time service. Like, it's very relational, sales driven instead of just purely transactional.
Yeah.
I think it references that later in this too.
Does it? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, the sales style or something like that.
Yeah, he's a consultative sales style. You're right.
Mhm.
Okay, core competencies. He really only has one area that's weak, only one area, and that's sales and channel planning. And guess what? Emily has that, right? So if she's doing 25%, she will probably be the rainmaker, right? She will be the rainmaker. And then he will see to it the problems are being solved and taking care of the customers afterwards. We can see he's got very strong, and this goes back to what he said, very strong customer service skills, client relationship management skills is how I describe it. So he's scoring an 8 out of 10. So this is someone that is going to make sure his clients are satisfied. And if it's a business where he can do it again and again, is going to be even more satisfying to him, especially since he's a little weak in the sales area and Emily's only contributing initially 25%. So better to hold on to that client as long as we can. So really no weaknesses. The only one is sales. So in many ways, this is someone that can see the future, meaning they're investing in the future. They're making wise, calculated decisions, um, and almost has a not just strategic thinking, but ability to then put things in place to make things happen, which again is very complementary to Emily. She's the rainmaker, he's the systems guy, and the follow through guy. Okay, I didn't even notice this here. We do have a Warren Buffett type. So again, extremely strategic, looks to the future, willing to invest. In fact, his wealth motto, and I know not all of us always look at that, his wealth motto is what we call collecting appreciating assets. So this is someone that recognizes undervalued stock. That could be licenses, it could be real estate, it could be uh, stocks, it could be intellectual property, it could be equipment. But he recognizes something that's undervalued. He will collect it and he will allow it to increase in equity. So I don't know if there's a business that does that. This and I'm going to throw it to you, Ruby or John or any of you, if you got some ideas that really highlight the societal individual, somewhat innovative and creative, but definitely established and solid, that also allows him to collect appreciating assets, he would be one happy camper. Anybody have any ideas in that arena? That's a
Nothing that comes to mind. Yeah, that's a tricky one.
tricky one. So you
Maybe
can,
in a way with the coaching franchises, like I know Schoolie Mitchell and Action Coach and those types of franchises, they've collected really valuable clients. And when they go to sell their business, the value of those clients really increases the price that their franchise sells for. If they stay on board and they have those relationships and they kind of bridge the gap, people will pay a lot of money for coaching businesses that have a really good book of business. And that's, technically that's an asset that's appreciating over time.
yeah, that's a good example. That's a good
Yeah.
example. So the assets, as Heath pointed out, can be human assets. It could be other experts that I bring on either as a vested partner or they're highly knowledgeable but subject matter experts. So it could be human assets where he and Emily can step back and these human assets will continue to grow the business. So anything that would attract, both of these people are societals, and both of them will work much better with highly skilled employees, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, right? Is what they're going to be work best with. That's a human asset. It's something that they themselves cannot do. Maybe that's a urgent care concept, right? So I'm going to be collecting the asset of the real estate, but I'm also collecting the asset of a medical degree, a director, a nurse, all of their knowledge that I personally don't have. And I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm just giving
Yeah.
you an example,
Mhm.
right, of what that might be. Was that helpful at all, Ruby?
I can't describe how helpful this is. I feel so lucky right now because my presentation's with them tomorrow. So
That worked out perfect.
I'm gonna sound like a pro. I just am so pumped.
Boom, boom.
Let's say
Bring-
Rebecca herself
yeah.
wanted to weigh in on you too.
It's recorded, so you can go.
Yes, it's amazing. Thank you. No, this is huge.
All right, sweetheart. And anyone else who has thoughts for Ruby, this is why we're here to help one another. So please feel free to jump in. Again,
Ruby, I was just thinking that kind of what everybody's alluding to, but just the ability to acquire an account and keep an account, you
Mhm.
know, and then, and quite frankly, that might be a pretty broad-based, great recommendation, anyways, these days, because it allows them to have anticipated revenue and confidence and certainty from that. And then, because if you get it, you generate some accounts, you keep them, right?
Mhm.
And then you're going to plan for a certain level of attrition. So a good thinker, analytical person understand you're going to have a plan for attrition means 10% of those are going to go away,
Mhm.
but 90% you're going to take with you to the next month, right?
Mhm.
And then you get new accounts on top of the ones you retained. And that's called legitimate, solidified, real growth,
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
put them in a position to think like that, where they feel like they're building that asset, from the accumulation. Also, it's very analytical, it's very smart, it's very, it kind of gives you a sense of, security. It's kind of like Rebecca's business, right? She gets accounts, keeps them, and gets more accounts. So,
and that's a
not,
really good
not,
point, John, because anything that is a subscription-based, membership-based, advisory, where you have someone on a retainer is
Mhm.
is something you can pass on. So when you're
Yeah,
thinking health and wellness, because health, wellness, elder care, consulting, um, all of those have that,
right.
whether it's a cryo business or
Mhm.
what's the thing, the drip bar kind of concepts or
Mhm.
Mhm.
certain health concepts, all of those would be again within who they
Right.
are, especially if that health concept is always on the edge. They're picking up the next thing, whatever that next thing is,
Yeah. Yeah,
smelling.
the perceived value of your business asset is much stronger when you have a model like that as well. So to you have more true value than if you're transactional as well.
Yeah.
So
So
And
good point.
that is such a pure reflection of the two of them too, because in Emily's business and in Sean's previous business, he was actually a personal trainer for some years and had a large clientele. And so between the two of them, that type of relationship based business where they're, when they land a client, it's a client for life. Like that's where they've thrived.
mm,
That's where they want to, continue to grow in that direction. So that makes perfect sense.
So we're gonna show something in the health and wellness, not just elder care, not just
Mhm.
consulting. We're gonna show something in health and wellness that hits all the points that John made. All right, I want to make sure we get to Emily, even though she's not going to be fully in the business initially. These are the meta programs. Sean has a large comfort zone. Now that means it's harder for him to to change dramatic direction, right? So um, and he has what we call a wall of fear that it will prevent him from taking huge risks. The good news is Emily has a great income. Emily is going to provide the stability that they both need, and she's got the sales skills to complement him. But since he ultimately is the one that's going to be running the business, we're going to make sure whatever business we help him do his due diligence on gives him all of the values that he has. The ones that are most important are highlighted right here, along with the splatter dot, right? So we have it down here. So his highest values are team. And so we want to make sure he gets that sense of team, or he builds a strong team around him with subject matter experts or highly skilled, either investors or partners or a team. Ideally, a team, because he knows how to collect assets and grow them. His next most important value is knowledge. So we want to put him in a business where he can use his knowledge, and in a business where he's going to gain more intellectual property. He's going to continue to grow. And so we want to make sure he gets that the feeding of the soul, so to speak. We can't have him bored. He's got to keep learning, right? And he wants others to keep learning. And then we also have a dependability marker. So you can see where dependability could trigger some safety issues, and security issues. A lot of it they've kind of already taken care of from a financial perspective, but there may be some other things laying there around dependability. And I think Heath and John addressed that with the repeat business that will create that dependability, or a leadership team at the franchise system that's done this before. They've been in this business for a while, so we can feel that dependable. So it might not hurt to ask him what he means by dependability. It's still within his societal belonger self, but it could have some fear or pain associated to it, simply because other pieces we haven't seen that yet in his values. Make sense?
Sure does.
And I think you're going to hit it by just the right companies. Dependable income, dependable high-skilled employees or partners. You're gonna show it anyway, and it's gonna make him feel safe and comfortable. So a couple of things. This is more about the development person than it even is you. He is going to feel safe when he's not being manipulated. So if you noticed, the two of them put different time frames down, right? So one of them is a little more urgent than the other. But what we want to make sure is we don't rush him, right? And we will not allow the development people to in any way rush him, push him, manipulate him, put timelines on him. He's going to feel uncomfortable with that.
I don't mean to interrupt you. It's so funny you say that, because there is a situation where there is a brand that is started rushing them, and it wasn't presented by me. It's something they kind of found on their own or stumbled upon, or anyway, but already, I mean, I've gotten probably 4 or 5 emails from them directly saying, why is this happening? Why did they send us this? And I'm just like, hey, we were going to slow everything down in the beginning so we can speed up at the end. But to your point, Rebecca, that is, not to be cheesy, spot on for him, because it is making him so uncomfortable that the specific brand is moving so fast.
Yeah. And some of them are trained that way, the development
Right.
certain companies, and Heath, some of the ones I'm talking about, that are so pressure oriented and so rushing people. And sometimes there's a good reason for it. They're running out of territory, especially a stage 4 company, and there is some timelines on it. But usually it's to meet quotas, to be candid.
I think one of the reasons this brand is because their FDD is about to renew, so they wanted to disclose them under the FDD before the new one comes out, because then they have to wait. But I don't know what the trouble in waiting is. If they're the right candidate, let them do their due diligence and follow their lead. And then I think for you, Ruby, when you refer them to a franchisor or a couple of franchisors, it's good to kind of make note of that for the developer, like just a little nugget about Sean. He's very analytical. He wants to really be informed and feel like he's making progress, but he does not want to feel pressured or rushed. So,
Mhm.
ultimatums aren't going to move him. They're just going to kind of sour him on the process. And then the
Right.
developer, any good developer will appreciate that kind of insight.
Okay. Good to
Yeah.
thanks. I will.
Mm-hmm.
This brings back a memory. I'm going to tell you a personal story. Um, I've been married twice. My second husband died 2 years after we got married. And we met and fell in love very quickly. We knew each other before he was an investor in a company I was doing some consulting work for, but never in a romantic way did I know him. I just knew him as an investor. Anyway, long story short, he proposed marriage and he wanted a short timeline. He wanted to get married very quickly. And I cannot tell you, I'm not one to be having anxiety. I was having panic attack after panic attack after panic attack. When we went to the courthouse to get our license, I could not even get out of the car. I was having a panic attack. I'm a societal. I cannot be rushed into something.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good decision ultimately. He was a good man, and left way too soon. But nonetheless, a societal that is pushed into a major decision, whether it's buying a business or marriage, will stress out like you wouldn't believe. So you're going to reel them back in and give them comfort and tell them, oh yeah, he tends to push a little bit. It's still your decision. I'm going to help you. You're going to comfort him is what you're going to do. Because we don't want him going nuts on us, right?
Definitely not.
You should have seen me. I was a mess, an absolute mess. I'm like, give me a tranquilizer just to get my license, not to get married, just to get a license. All right, let's look at Emily. So again, we got Emily. She's a societal. She has the director side, which is the strategic, big picture, good delegator, get it done. She's the driver, right? To his thinker. So there's a really good complement here. So she's fast, she's decisive, she's a good leader, she's a good manager. But both the thinker and the director love structure, right? And efficiency. So we're definitely going to make sure we're going to find that. She's more of the collaborator. Actually, you know what? Let's do this, sweetie. I'm going to do a side by side for you. Can you guys see this spreadsheet?
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is probably the easy way to kind of see how they complement each other.
Oh,
So
that's
both
awesome.
societals, he has a splatter dot of innovation, but keep in mind societals are also innovators. So she's going to want some level of innovation too. Her number one splatter dot or pain point is freedom. This is a woman that's going to keep her job and pray her husband ramps up quickly so she can leave, right? And I don't, you know her well enough, better than I do, but she's going to be the stabilizing factor. But trust me, she's itching to do something different, right? She's ready for something new. So we got to find a way to get him to ramp up quickly so she can do that, so she doesn't lose the passion. She also has a splatter dot of control. He's more easygoing. She's more about controlling, scaling, replicating, dominating, growing, getting it done. So she's more that. So he brings a lot of the heart. She brings a lot of the head to the mix. She's also a collaborator, and because they're so comfortable with one another and so augment one another, that this is going to be great for her, where she can collaborate with her husband who really thinks differently than she does and has different giftings than she. So it's going to be highly collaborative. This is going to be a wonderful thing. But she's also going to want to be able to be collaborative with others. That could be other franchisees. It could be vendors, suppliers, businesses in her local market. It could be with the franchisor. She's likely at some point, actually both of them, but for her for sure, going to be volunteering to sit on franchisee advisory boards, innovation committees. She's going to step into that role when she can, right? So it wouldn't hurt to bring those things up to her. This one has a great innovation team or committee, and you may want to talk to one of them. But just be thinking.
Mhm.
So she's kind of equal amounts director promoter. So she's got that strategic side of her, the big picture, to get her done, controller, but she's also influential. The promoter is good at sales. The promoter is gregarious. The promoter is outgoing. The promoter is like the flame that a moth is drawn to. So she really does have this beautiful personality where people instantly kind of like her, and she's very
Mhm.
quick at building rapport and trust. So again, notice how it complements what he is. He's that steadfast, you know, integrator where she's the stir up the dust person,
Mhm.
right?
That's consistent.
And again, look at how complementary they are. Literally complementary, right? So we got, she's got leadership. So we got 8 core competencies. And you can see every one of them. She has the certain ones, and he has the exact opposite. It's not
Mhm.
often we see this. Literally, there's no duplicate here. He has
Wow.
things, she has things, and they go beautifully together. They're both consultative salespeople. Um, she is more driven to scalability and growth and dominating a market. So you're going to be looking for that possibility. Now, scalability could be like Heath mentioned a little bit earlier, where I have different products, different services that I can
Mhm.
offer, and I'm selling to the same market, or it could be another unit, another territory. So it has to be something that she can scale.
Yep.
She loves that challenge. He, on the other hand, would be content with a single unit or something where he can use his subject matter expertise. Um, I don't have anything negative to say about that, other than if he's making this decision on his own, he may turn out to be more of a technician or a consultant or a subject matter expert, and he could quickly get mired in the day-to-day
Mhm.
business. So we want her in the business as fast as we can get her
Got it.
in that business. And she's already motivated, so I'm not too worried about that. She has a medium comfort zone. She's going to be able to make decisions quicker than he is. They're both carrot and stick oriented. They're both procedural, meaning we need a very precise process that you take them through and then give them feedback that they've done a good job at each step. The other thing they both have that we haven't talked about is what we call a relationship sort. So both of them are differences with exceptions. And you kind of already done this unconsciously. So both of them will see how the businesses are different from what they're doing, different from what their friends are doing, different from the other business that you're showing. To help them make a decision, you're going to have to show them the differences.
Mhm.
And one of the ways to do that is kind of like what I've done here,
Mhm.
but it'll be here's company A, let's call that a senior care. Here's company B, it's a consulting business, and company C is a massage place or some healthcare or fitness thing. So you're going to point out the differences first. Here's how this is different. You're dealing with a different customer. It's a different price point. This one has upsells that you can do. And then you're going to show them the next one. What makes it, this one you can do in regular hours. You're not going to close at 8 o'clock. You're going to show them the differences. They're going to need that first. And then they have what we call an exception model, which means show me the differences first, and then show me in a place or two where they're similar. They're
Mhm.
all societal businesses. They're all businesses with repeat business. But first show the differences. So don't pick 3 companies that are exactly the same.
Okay.
Right? Make them enough different, but still within the realm that you've been talking about.
Okay.
Both of them are what we call external sorters. That means what really helps them to make decisions is in an external way. That's spreadsheets, it's testimonials, it's visiting a site, it's data, it could be item 19, but it'll be something outside of them that they're using to validate. Could be their CPA, it could be their attorney, right?
Mhm.
It could be all of the above. So I point this out just so if the development person isn't providing all those things, that you find out what is it that they need, spreadsheets, whatever it is, you're going to do your best to get it. Because the external is someone who needs that. They need some kind of feedback that says, numbers make sense, this person validates it. My attorney says, I just have to do this one thing. They're going to need that. Make sense,
It
Ruby?
does. Yes. Thank you.
All right. She's a average complier. He's a high complier. Even more reason we want to put him in a strong, structured, stable environment because he's really good at complying. He needs those systems. He's going to master those systems. Therefore, he needs those systems, right? So she, on the other hand, is more in the average. Average folks are folks that are ethical, principled. They're going to follow the rules. They're going to do it the way they're asked to do it. But if it's dumb, she's going to break the rules, right?
Yeah.
Or if
That
or they're
reminds me of my days working with her. Yep.
yeah, she's going to push the boundary and say, well, this is not efficient or this is stupid. Or if she hasn't been taught that she should do it a certain way, she can make it up.
Yeah.
So she'll be more flexible in that way.
Rebecca, would you say that Emily is going to be more of the person of influence, the one driving the decision, and then her partner will be there to kind of like validate it? Would that be fair to say, or how do you see the dynamic in terms of how they're going to come together to make this decision about buying a franchise?
I'm going to let Ruby answer that, but let me tell you my first impression. Emily is highly persuasive. And if there's something that she's triggered on and he's not quite there, she will use her feminine wiles to talk him into it and he won't even know it.
She'll make it his idea.
I think it's his idea.
That's just it. Yeah, she's an excellent salesperson in that regard. So it's funny you say that because, or even present that, John, because I was thinking the same thing when looking at their two Zoracles. And I'm not well versed in reading a ton of Zoracles yet by any means, but I could see how he's going to want to take his time. He's going to want to really think it through. He's going to want to, maybe border on paralysis through analysis. And she's not going to let him. she's just,
No,
she
she's
just
going to
won't.
push it through.
Yeah. And if, and especially if it's a situation like you brought up, if, or Rebecca, if you may have said it too, if there's pressure because they're in Connecticut. And so even just doing territory checks, I realized how much competition's already there. And so she's going to be very decisive if she recognizes like, okay, we're not going to lose this. So we're not going to sit and wait for you to do whatever the heck it is you need to do. I know it's right. You'll get there, but she'll do it in a very persuasive way.
So John, yes,
Pull him
I
out of
agree
that.
with you. She's going to be the one making the decision, but he won't know what hit him because she will do it in such a gentle way that he will think it's his idea.
So she's kind of pulling him out of that large comfort zone if she knows this is going to
Yeah.
be a good decision to make.
That's an excellent point.
And he trusts her, which is,
trusts
you
her.
can tell like and it was wonderful to see that.
They're very much on the same page. Like their CQs are almost identical. The differences in their Zoracle assessments are perfectly complementary. Like his one weakness is sales aptitude. That's her biggest strength. And she has above average sales competency. She's kind of the driver of the business. He manages the relationships and nurtures that. Like it's really a good pair as business owners. And the best franchisees that I've interviewed over the years, when it's a husband and wife couple or business partners or brothers, they have differences that make them collaborate a lot better. If they're perfectly similar, then someone's not picking up the slack on one of those
Mhm.
responsibilities, and those personalities tend to clash. So I think
True.
franchisors are going to like to see that they have different pieces of the puzzle to make it work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that side by side analysis was awesome, Rebecca. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
that's
took a
good.
screenshot.
Woo! Well, you have to keep us posted.
Yes.
Anybody else have any comments, additions that we can help Ruby with since she's going into this presentation tomorrow, or even any questions that we can answer?
Rebecca, I was curious if you might share maybe your insights on more of a general broad-based question. In terms of matching culture and values, right? A lot of big buzzwords these days, the right culture, the right culture, the right culture, you know.
Right.
And then when you look at a lot of the companies when they express what their culture is, quite frankly, Rebecca, it's a lot of the same jargon, you know,
Mhm.
integrity, excellence,
Blah, blah, blah.
empathy, or what, you know. And so I'm just kind of curious, what are some of your thoughts on how, the system as a tool or in general, how we can kind of make some of those connections. That was one thought I had. And then another thing I was wondering if you could share with me a little bit. What are your thoughts on like coachability? We talk a lot about there's structure, and then there's adaptive, there's flexibility, and there's the combination thereof. What are some ways to determine that there's someone's going to actually be coachable? Because I think that's one of the huge things today. Franchising has a lot of middle-aged folks that are know-it-alls. What are some of your thoughts on that? And just anything that comes to mind you think would be for us to, you know, rules of thumb would be appreciated if you got
I'm
any
going to
ideas.
share you a couple things. I think you guys know when we work with a franchisor, um, we do in-depth research on them.
Mm,
And we do an audit on their company that we walk them through. And then we assess every franchisee or as many of the franchisees as possible. They are separated into categories. Category A is our high performing, high fit franchisee. B is those average performers that, could use some help. And then C are those folks that really are struggling. From that, we create um, a blueprint and a set of algorithms. Those algorithms are on your spot on matches. John, have you already seen the spot on matches?
yes.
Okay. So that will tell you this person really is a cultural fit.
Mhm.
But to your point, I think what the franchisors um, miss is that culture is only in part the values, integrity, contribution. It's only a part of it. And they usually get that part right. But it's also the environment, the best practices, and the reward systems. And those
Mm,
they don't always clearly define. What best practices do you have in place that rewards or nurtures integrity or contribution, right? What
Great point.
environment, right? So that's the piece that they miss. And that's the piece that we really drill into when we're doing the audit. And then, of course, we're also looking at the current franchisees to see if indeed they're thriving in that environment. Are they perceiving the franchisor the way that franchisor is perceiving themselves? I cannot tell you how many times they're not. The franchisee is seeing it one way and the franchisor. So we do something called a management versus top performer analysis
Mm,
also.
excellent.
And it's frequently done. And then
Yeah.
of course they get this report which tells them if someone's a fit in the various sciences. Which takes us to the next question. We got 1 minute to do it. Coachability. Oh my gosh. This is such an important factor. I can tell you a few things. If someone is scoring high in the emulator marker, they're likely not as coachable as someone who's a belonger, achiever, or societal. But there are other markers that you don't see that when you send over a referral through our system and attach the assessment results, there are several markers that they see that you don't see. So looking at one of them, it's self-confidence. It's on a score of 1 to 16. The higher someone scores in confidence, the more arrogant they are. I got it figured out. I don't need you to coach me. I'm not good at taking critique. So a score of 16 would be crazy. Typically, high performers will score around a 12 and a half in terms of self-confidence. So if someone's coming in arrogant and overly self-confident, they're likely not going to be coachable. Again, the Zor sees this when you send over through the software, they see this. They know exactly where the self-confidence, and they're trained how to look for it. But for you, you may have to ask some questions. Adaptability is another marker that will let us know, are they coachable? Nope, I'm not adaptable. I'm going to do it my way. I'm not going to do it your way. So those are some markers that the franchisor can look at, and you can ask in some of the questions that you're asking. So coachability leads to success. It is one of the primary markers. So if you get someone that is way too innovative, way too adaptable, or not adaptable enough, or have extreme high confidence levels, those are usually folks that aren't coachable. And usually a franchisor doesn't, as you know, doesn't want those individuals.
Thank
I
you, Rebecca.
remember when we were looking at a Zorakle profile for this call last year. And one of the profiles we were looking at, we were kind of talking about this person might not be a good fit for a franchise because they're really high emulator. They want to change systems. They think they can improve everything. They also, I remember their splatter dots. If they don't have enough control, that was a big pain point for them. Those kinds of signs kind of tell you a little bit of the story that this person, it might not be willing to, let go of the reins and follow a process because they fear lack of control. So you either find a brand where they let franchisees be extremely flexible, or a business opportunity might be a better fit because you're not following a franchise system with a business opportunity. You name your business whatever you want it to be. There's no branding. Like, so I remember we kind of discussed that a little bit.
Yeah, those are all good points. So high emulator markers, when you get high innovation markers and creativity markers, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do the other.
Mhm.
Those are probably folks that aren't so coachable, that the value of creativity outweighs the value for success.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I know people like that. I probably was that when I
Yeah.
was younger, because I got bored with doing the same thing again
Yeah.
and again, right? And so we have to be cautious about. So as we mature, usually those markers will change. Thank God, right?
Yeah.
Rebecca, thanks for doing this exercise with us.
Yeah. Thank
Appreciate it
you.
very much.
Thanks
This was
for sending
amazing.
those in. It's always
Ruby, look at what
helpful.
we've learned over the last couple hours.
Oh my gosh. I should have just had Emily and Sean join. You guys have been amazing.
Oh,
Thank you
that would have
so
been
much.
fun. That would have
Yeah,
been fun.
that'd be fun. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let us know how it goes, Ruby.
I
Best of
sure
luck with
will.
the presentation.
Thank you all. I
Take
appreciate
care,
it. You guys have
guys.
a
Have
great
a
All right,
day.
thanks
fabulous
so
rest
much,
of the
Rebecca.
day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
All right, see you, John.